So this video is going to be the first in a series that I've actually been planning for a while now. I originally had the idea for this many months ago, but then I just kept making other things. But now I'm finally up to this. My idea was to make a video ranking every single variant of every Nintendo console, but then I decided there's going to be so many for some, I might as well just split it into each console. So I'm starting with the N64 in this video, and I'm getting this information from consolevariations.com. It's a pretty cool site to see, obviously, console variations, and according to that site there are 19 different variants of the N64. However, my list only consists of 17, and there's two reasons for that. First of all, the one is the Chinese IQ player N64 console. I'm not really counting that as an N64 console. Also, if I'm not mistaken, that's a plug-and-play, so there is no actual console, it's just a controller. And I'm basing this around the designs of the console, so I can't just rank it if there's no console. If anything, we'll just say it's at the bottom. The other reason is one I'll get to later. It's because I'm grouping two very similar consoles into one ranking. Anyway, for the 17 that we have, we're going to start at the bottom with the Hyundai Gameboy console. This is literally just a regular N64, but it has some text on, like, the memory card cover. Really lame. And this variant was only released in South Korea, so that's interesting. Next up, we've got the All Nippon Airlines console, which again is just a regular N64 with text in that same spot, so also really boring. These consoles were given away by this so-called All Nippon Airlines in Japan, so that must have been pretty cool. That happened back in 1999. I imagine these are pretty rare now, but it's not really a good design because it's just a regular N64. Next up, one of the Fantastic series consoles. Back in the day, technology had its phase with the neon transparent plastic like the iMacs and the N64, of course, and lots of other things. But I honestly think this one here, number 15, the Fantastic Smoke, is the worst of them because it's pretty much just a regular N64, but transparent because it's the same color. Then we've got the N64 Battle Set console, which is based around Pokemon Stadium, and I like the color scheme of blue and yellow. It's just I feel like it's kind of thrown off by the little decal stickers on top of it. It looks kind of fake because of that, and it really throws the design off if you ask me. Next up, we have just the standard N64 that anyone that grew up with one or has one knows and loves, because this is easily the most common one. It's just the gray. Nothing wrong with it, it's just that some of the other variations that actually make something unique look better. Then we've got the Jusco 30th Anniversary Edition N64, which was released only in Japan and is pretty rare now. It's practically the same thing as the Fantastic Smoke, but the bottom is white, and I think that little dual color is a really nice effect, and it makes it look a lot better. And there are two others that have this same white bottom that we'll get to later, but they look better because gray is kind of boring. Next up, we've got another Fantastic, being the Ice Blue, followed by yet another, the Jungle. Now, even though we're at number 10 right now, by this point, all of these consoles look pretty good. Like, I do think this green looks good, it's just that there are plenty that I think look even better. Like the Clear Blue and White console, which, if I'm understanding this correctly, is like the European and Japanese version of the Fantastic Ice Blue console. The only difference is that it has that white bottom, which I just think makes it look a lot better instead of being one solid color. Followed by that, we have the Fantastic Grape. Everyone loves atomic purple, see-through technology, like the Game Boy Color. Number 7, we've got the Watermelon. I think red is a pretty cool color, especially for the N64. Then we have what I think is the best looking Fantastic series console, which is the Fire. It's orange. Something about this just looks pretty regal and epic, like it's almost golden, but not really. And number 5, we have something very similar to that Clear Blue and White one. It's the Clear Red and White one. But unlike the blue one, it wasn't released in Europe, it was only in Japan. And it's practically the Watermelon console, but again with a white strip at the bottom, and therefore I think it looks a lot better. Then in number 4, we have this really weird thing. It's called the Die Hawks console. I might have pronounced that wrong, but this is the highest ranking see-through N64 in this list. It doesn't fit in with the Funtastic series though, so that's why it's above that. This is practically a variant of the Funtastic Fire though, because the top is translucent orange, but again, it has a different colored bottom, but this time it's not white, it's black. And black and orange is a pretty epic color combination. This one was only released in Japan, and it was only sold in whatever the Daiei store is in Japan. Also, looking at my list right now, I'm realizing that there's a kind of pattern going on. You have a translucent console, and then later in the list you have that same thing but with a colored bottom, like Smoke was number 15, but then the Just Go with the colored bottom was 12, the Ice Blue was 11, but then the Clear Blue of White was 9, then the Watermelon was 7, but then the Clear Red and White was 5, and then Fire was 6, and 4 is this thing. I don't know why I felt the need to say that, but anyway, at number 3 we have the second reason why this list is a little shorter than the actual total number of N64 consoles out there, and that's because this is the Pikachu console, a very classic, iconic one, practically the most unique N64 console out there, because really it's the only one that has a different body shape from the regular N64, or just any of the variants really. In addition to the fact that there's a Pikachu mold coming out of it, which is pretty epic, and it actually has unique buttons and everything, like Pikachu's foot is the reset button, the power switch is a Pokeball, it has a dual color, which is pretty cool. So you're probably wondering, how is this making the list shorter? And that's because there are 2 of these. Well, actually 3, but for this specific spot, I'm doing 2. Because there's a blue, which is the one that was released in USA, South America, and Europe, but then there's also a light blue, which is just barely different, that was only released in Japan. So they're so similar, I don't really care to say that one's better than the other. So they're both number 3. But then in number 2, we again have the Pikachu console, but this one is the orange one. I think this color scheme just looks a lot better. Honestly, blue and yellow might be my favorite color combo, but just for this specific console here and this design, I think the orange works a little better. Makes the whole thing have very warm colors, because then you have the yellow, the orange, and the red of the Pikachu cheeks and the Pokeball. And then lastly, at number 1, we have the Toys R Us exclusive, released in USA and Japan, the Golden console. Anything that is golden, I'm like a little mountain goblin. A little spark comes in my eye and I just fascinate over it. And this golden console here is no exception. I really think this looks epic, and I wish this is the one I had. I happen to have just a regular N64 console, but like, really anything that is golden just looks so cool to me, especially for the N64 console here. And especially the controller too, because the way it's shaped and now it's golden, it looks like a trident head. It's just epic. There are a lot of other Nintendo consoles that have been made golden, but when we get to the other lists, I'm sure you'll be seeing those golden consoles of other consoles, scoring very high on those lists too. For now, this is probably the shortest one we're gonna have, because there wasn't nearly as many N64 variants as some later consoles. So not only did this video serve as like a way to just rank these consoles, you don't even have to agree, of course, you probably don't, but also just to show off all the different N64 variants, because I, for one, am very intrigued by variants of anything really, but definitely video game stuff, so this is kind of just showing that off. And you can also just go check out Console Variations. I'm not sponsored, but it's a cool website, so yeah. Anyway, if you like this, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and thanks for watching.